वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। साक्षात्कृतं दयानन्दं परमार्थस्वरूपिणं तत्त्वज्ञानप्रशास्तारं प्रणतोऽस्मि परं पदम्। वागर्थाविव सम्पृक्तौ वागर्थप्रतिपत्तये जगतः पितरौ वन्दे पार्वती परमेश्वरौ। येनाक्षरसमाम्नायम् अधिगम्य महेश्वरात् कृत्स्नं व्याकरणं प्रोक्तं तस्मै पाणिनये नमः। वाक्यकारं वररुचिं भाष्यकारं पतञ्जलिं पाणिनिं सूत्रकारं च प्रणतोऽस्मि मुनित्रयम्। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Please repeat. अल्पाक्षरम् असन्दिग्धम्
अल्पाक्षरम् असन्दिग्धम्
सारवद्विश्वतोमुखम्
सारवद्विश्वतोमुखम्
स्तोभम् अनवद्यं च
अस्तोभम् अनवद्यं च
सूत्रं सूत्रविदो विदुः।
सूत्रं सूत्रविदो विदुः।
What is called a sutram, or what are the features, characteristics of a sutram, is given in the form of a shloka here, which we saw in the last class. I explained it for the first time, even though we have been chanting this shloka every class. Alpaksharam asandigdham saravat vishvato mukham astobham anavatyam. These six are Shad Lakshanani, Sutra Lakshanani. Sutra, every sutra must have these six characteristics. Alpaksharam meaning minimum number of letters. Akshara. In a sutram, there must be minimum number of letters. Asandigdham, even though the letters are minimum, the words are minimum, the sutram is compact, but it should be asandigdham, should be free from any ambiguity, free from uncertainty, should clearly convey what it intends to. That is second Lakshanam. And third one, Saravat, presenting the subject matter. Vishwatomukam, a sutra must be able to be applied in different contexts. Vishwatomukam, multifaceted. Astobham, there should not be any the praise or exclamatory words. These are not allowed because these are additional words, additional letters that will spoil the alpaksharatva. Therefore, not allowed. And anavadyam should be free from any defects. Defects in terms of meaning as well as in terms of grammatical syntax. So grammar wise as well as meaning wise, it should be free from any blemish. These are the 6 characteristics of a sutram. So that is called a sutram, which has these 6 characteristics. Iti sutra vidaha, sutram veti. Sutram veti iti sutra vidaha. Those who know sutra, the knowers of sutra, call this as a sutram which has all these 6 characteristics. Shad Lakshanani. So this is an important thing to be understood. The shloka, what we are chanting. Why should we know what a sutram is? Because Nageshwara Sutrani, Shiksha Sutrani, every class we are chanting. Therefore, we should know what a sutram is, and we are going to see what is the purpose of Nageshwara Sutram in this class today. So understand Nageshwara Sutrani. Ayun,
Ayun,
Lik,
Riluk,
Eong,
Eong,
Ai Ouch,
Ayouch,
Ayavarat,
Ayavarat,
Lan,
Lan,
Yamangananam,
Yamanganam,
Jabhai,
Japai,
Adhadhash,
Khadadash,
Jabagadash,
Jabagadash,
Khapa Chathatha Chatatau,
Kapa
Chatatau,
Chatatau,
Kapai,
Kapai,
Shashasar,
Shar,
Al,
Al,
Iti, Maheshwarani, Sutrani.
Iti Maheshwarani Sutrani.
This is called Maheshwara Sutras. Maheshwarani, Maheshwarat, Ishvara, but from Lord Shiva. Maheshwarat Agatani Sutrani, the sutras which have come from Maheshwara, from Lord Shiva. That is why this sutra has got another name also, Shiva Sutrani, Maheshwara Sutrani, or Shiva Sutrani. These sutras, 14 sutras, they form the basis of the work of Panini Maharishi. That work is called Ashtadhyayi, a sutra work on the Vyakaranam of the language. So, the Vyakaranam of Saṃskṛtam presented in the form of the sutra, for which these sutras form the backbone. Therefore, only these sutras are important and chanted every class. Samskrita Bhasha as a beautiful, a technical, a metaphysical form of Vyakaranam. Samskritam had many vyakaranams, many grammar systems before. There were about 9 grammar systems. Among all the 9 grammar systems, now what survives is Paniniya Vyakarana. Panini Maharishi, a great Rishi, who wrote Vyakaranam for the existing language. It is not that Vyakaranam came first and then the language. The language was there. For the existing language, he presented Vyakaranam, and that too in the form of sutras, condensed the Vyakaranam in the form of the sutras. In his work called Ashtadhyayi, the name of the work is Ashtadhyayi. Adhyaya means chapter. Ashta means 8. 8-chaptered work is called Ashtadhyayi, a book of 8 chapters. A book of 8 chapters is called Ashtadhyayi, otherwise called Sutra Pataha. That form the basis of Vyakaranam, basis of Vyakaranam. That is a Vyakaranam, that is the basis of the language. So want to know the Vyakaranam of the language, then you have to study Ashtadhyayi. That is in the form of the Sutra. Because in the form of the Sutra, therefore one cannot study on one's own. Therefore only the commentaries, Vyakyanam, etc. are and all available. In spite of that, it is difficult because it is in a language, in a metaphysical language, like a computer language. So computer programming, because you operate the computer, you cannot understand the computer program. You have to study to understand the computer programming. But you can operate the computer. But behind the functioning of the computer, there is a program running and program written by some developer, software developer. Similarly, Vyakaranam also, it is in the form of the computer programming. The language is metaphysical language. Language is different from the Laukika language. The words, the sentences, what we use in the Laukika, in the spoken language, in the Vyavahara, that is not the language of the Vyakaranam. It is in a metaphysical language. So therefore, one has to study to understand what it is. For that Vyakarana system, Panini Vyakarana system, this Nageshwara Sutram forms the basis. So therefore, the language was existing for which the Vyakaranam was written. Saṃskṛtam, in fact, we know Saṃskṛtam doesn't have any script. It borrowed Devanagari script. And Veda doesn't, Veda which is in Saṃskṛtam, it is written in Devanagari script. And the Veda which is transmitted orally in the tradition, from the rishis up to now, this Veda form the basis for forming a Vyakarana system. Vedas are the pramanam even for the Vyakaranam. Vyakaranam, the grammar written for the language. What language? For the language as it is in the Veda. So, Vedas are the pramanam. In fact, Vedas are the pramanam not only for the Apaurishaya Vishaya. Vedas are also becomes the in one way a sort of pramanam for the Vyakaranam also. Vyakaranam, grammar, the Vyakaranam of this, the language Saṃskṛtam came for the language which was existing in the Veda. In the Vedas, there are Vakyas, there are sentences, there are words. Now, there is a need to interpret the Vakya, to interpret the words, how the words are formed, how the Vakyas are constructed. So, therefore, based on the usage of the words in the Vedas, as well as in the Lokika, Bhasha, the language, both, based on that, it means the grammar, it means the language was existing. The language was a spoken language, and also it was in Veda, Saṃskṛtam. So for the existing one, the grammar was written by Panini Maharshi. It is not an easy job. For formatting a new language, to form a new language, you can write a Vyakaranam. That is how computer languages and all are written. C, C++, all these languages have got a syntax first and then the language. These are called artificial languages, whereas Saṃskṛtam, natural language. The language was there. Without grammar, without any grammar system, it was there. Or the grammar system came into existence after the language came. So similar for the same way for the Vyakaranam, this Vyakaranam, Panini Vyakaranam, one of the 9 Vyakarana systems also came to be written after the language only. So the language first, and language in the form of the words which were spoken by the people living those time, as well as the Veda. So the Veda, the words of the Veda also form the basis for the scripting of the Vyakarana system. Therefore, only I said Vedas are also pramanam for Vyakaranam. Pramanam in the sense becomes the basis, becomes a basis for the writing of Vyakaranam. In fact, in the Ashtadhyayi, in that grammar work, there is a separate prakaranam called Vaidika Prakaranam. There is a separate prakaranam called Vaidika Prakaranam. A prakaranam which talks about the usage or the form of the words used in the Veda. So, therefore, Vedas first, language first, and then the Vyakarana. So, therefore, for the existing one, the language, the Vyakaranam was written. So, therefore, the grammar, the Vyakaranam, which was written, grammar which is written based on the Veda, we say. Therefore, only I said it is for the, even for the Vyakaranam, Vedas are the Pramanam. It is here you need to understand important thing. Because the Vyakaranam is written based on the Veda, therefore the Vedas doesn't have to follow Vyakaranam. Vedas are exempted because Vyakaranam came to existence after Veda only, not before. Therefore, Vedas are the authority, doesn't have to follow Vyakaranam. Whereas we have to follow the Vyakaranam, the grammar, in talking, in using the words, in forming the words. Vedas and the Rishis, Shishta Purusha, they have the privilege, they have the authority, so they can use the words they like. For example, they can use a dhatu as a parasmipadi or appanipadi. In fact, in the Mundaka Upanishad, there is a famous statement, Satyameva Jayate. Satyameva Jayate. Jayate, it is from Ji dhatu. It is parasmipadi. It should be Satyameva Jayati only, not Jayate. But Veda says Jayate. Does it mean Veda is wrong? No. Vedas are the final authority and they are independent. Therefore, Veda can say Jayate. But we have to understand Jayate is Jayati. That is what Bhashyakara, Shankaracharya in his Bhashyam, Jayate, if it is there, he will say Jayati. That is Chandasam, we say. That is Chandasam Vaidika Prayoga. Vedas, usage of the words by the Vedas. Or sometimes in Gita and all, Vyasacharya would have used the words not in keeping with the Vyakaranam. Can we say that is a mistake? That is a dosha? No. Because it is used by Vyasacharya, Shishtapurusha, we say Arsha Prayoga. Prayoga, the usage by the rishis. That also not considered to be a defect. But if we use the words not in keeping with the syntax, grammatical syntax, that is considered to be an error, a mistake. Therefore, Vedas, Rishis, Shishta Purushas, they are exempted. They are exempted from following the grammar rules. The rules are meant only for the people, for the others. So therefore, grammar is not for the Veda. Grammar written based on the Veda, based on the words which are used in the Veda. And what the grammar, the Vyakaranam has to do is should present a reason, a logic for the usage of the words, for the etymological derivation of the words. The grammar system has to present logic. That is what Panini Maharishi had done in his wonderful grammar system called Ashtadhyayi. So Ashtadhyayi is one of the Vyakarana system. As I said before, that there were 9 Vyakarana systems, and Lord Hanumanji, he knows all the 9 grammar system. That is why he is called Nava Vyakarana Pandita. But now only one Vyakaranam is surviving. That too, thanks to the prayer offered by Panini Maharishi in the form of a sutra in the beginning itself. Vriddhi Radai. The first sutra is Vriddhi. It's a beautiful the word Vriddhi. Vriddhi means big. What is big? That which is big, that cannot be compared with anything. You cannot say it as the biggest also. Big means the word is as such, it is big, meaning big only. It means there is nothing other bigger than that. So you cannot use superlative or any other word. What is that big? That is Brahma, that is Bhagavan, Ishvara. So the meaning of the word Vriddhi is Brahma, Ishvara. And Vriddhi also as a sanya, as a name, is used in the Vyakarana system. Therefore, 2 in 1. Using the name, using the word Vriddhi, meaning Ishvara, and using the same word meaning a name, a sanya. So, therefore, one word serving 2 purposes. It serves the purpose of the prayer, prarthana, as well as serves the purpose of naming a group of letters, serving 2 purposes. So one sutra, one word serves 2 purposes. So in that way, he had accomplished sutratvam, alpaksharatvam. So therefore, the word it's a one word prayer. It's a one word prayer. Like there are one syllabled prayer. Om is a prayer. Just starting with the utterance of Om. Even if you are not able to chant any Shanti Pata, just saying Om, we can start. Om is auspicious. Name of the Pratika of the Lord. So therefore, Om. That is invoking the Lord we can start any undertaking, class, or any undertaking we can do. Without taking the name of the Lord, we are not supposed to do any activity. So if time is not there, just saying Om, we can commence. Similarly, here in the sutra, just Vriddhi, uttering the word Vriddhi, that stands for Ishvara. Also, that Vriddhi stands for the Sanya for a group of letters serving two purposes. The word Vriddhi is used. In Bhagavad Gita, also like that only. Bhagavad Gita, which is in the middle of Mahabharata, doesn't have separate Dhyana Shloka. The tradition we say that text which doesn't have Prarthana Shloka should not be studied, not worth studying. Any text should begin with a prayer, whether it is grammatical text or Vedanta text, any text should begin with a prayer. Prayer in the form of Namaskara to Guru or Namaskara to Ishvara or Vastu Nirdharanam Krutva. Like the prayer should be the offered. If prayer is not there, Dhyana Shloka is not there, the text doesn't deserve to be studied. Even in our daily life, we commence our activity after offering prayer. There is an attitude behind that. Not only we ask for the successful accomplishment of the undertaking, but we invoke the all-pervading Lord and then commence. Auspicious beginning. It is an auspicious beginning. So the prayer is important. In the Bhagavad Gita, where is the prayer? Gita being located in the middle of the Mahabharata. In the Bhishma Parva, it is located. Bhishma Parva is in the middle. There is no prayer. But we chant prayer shloka that really doesn't belong to Bhagavad Gita. The Parthaya Pratibodhitam, these shlokas do not belong to Bhagavad Gita. They were written by some other authors, by Madhusudana Saraswati, they say. Those shlokas only are chanted as Dhyana shloka before the class. But Gita as such doesn't have any Dhyana shloka. Then is it not a dosha if it is asked? Then we give answer. The first shloka begins, the first shloka that spoken by Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtraha uvacha. Even though the word Dhritarashtra meaning the father of or the king of the Kauravas, the blind king, the blind king, the father of Duryodhana, the Kauravas, even though meaning that person, the word represents Ishvara. Dhritam Rashtram Yena Saha, the one by whom this Rashtram, this Jagat is sustained. So therefore, the word Dhritarashtra means Ishvara. That meaning also is that, therefore it is a one word prarthana. So Gita begins with one word prarthana. So that Dhritarashtra, the name, serves the purpose of prayer, as well as in the context that shloka is spoken by Dhritarashtra. So therefore it has a prayer. So in that way we give arguments why Gita also can be studied, because it has a prayer. Otherwise, in the tradition they will argue Gita doesn't have a prayer, then it should not be studied. So like that. So therefore, Vyakarana system, Paniniya Vyakarana system also has a prayer, Vriddhi. So here, since it is in the form of the sutra, the word serves twin purposes. So if that is so, in the beginning itself it is done. So you can imagine the sutra Sutra Lakshanam all over. And because the prayer is done in the beginning, the prayer is so strong, this Vyakarana system survives. Paniniya Vyakarana system survives, for which the basis is for the Sutram, for the writing of the Sutram, the basis is this Maheshwara Sutrani. Now, the words used by the great sages are not bound by any grammatical rules. The usage is called Arsha Prayoga. The word Arsha Vidya. The word Arsha, they say it is Harsha Vidya. It is not Harsha Vidya. Harsha means Ananda. There is a Swami, there was a Swami with the name Harshananda. That is different. Harsha is different. Arsha. In English, they write A-R-S-H-A. It is not Arsha, it is Arsha. And that also Murdhanya Shakara. It is derived from the root, verbal root, Rish. Rishati Janati. Iti Rishihi. So, the word Rishi derived from the Dhatu Rish. From that only the word Arsha also has come. Rishehe idam Arsham. So Arsha Prayoga, usage of the Rishis. The words of the Vedas are the words of the Rishis. Therefore, they do not, they need not, they are not bound. They are not bound by the grammatical rules. There are words in the Veda which doesn't follow any rules, which do not follow any rules. Need not follow. If they follow, fine. If it doesn't follow also, it is okay. These words are Vedic. These words are used by the Rishis and they have a privilege, special privilege to use it. Whereas the words in the spoken mode, the spoken language, or in the written by any other person, an ordinary person, he has to follow the grammar rules. Also, the great sages like Valmiki, Vyasacharya, they're all great rishis, great people, sages. So they are also beyond any rules. The words used by them are called Arsha Prayoga. Therefore, don't look for the grammar approval, grammatical syntax approval for the words used by the rishis. They are Arsha Prayoga, we say. Bearing the Vedas and the sages, therefore, the grammar rules have to be followed by others. In the Sutra work of Panini Maharishi, Panini as a set of rules which are to be followed very strictly. The whole work of Ashtadhyayi consisting of 4,000 sutras, consists of about 4,000 sutras. These sutras cannot be further compressed. Already it is in a compressed form, compact form, encapsulated form. Further it cannot be compressed. Following all the Lakshanam of the sutras, this Ashtadhyayi composed by Panini Maharishi is based on the 14 sutras, Maheshwara Sutrani, otherwise called the Shiva Sutrani, which form the backbone of the work. What is the work is called Ashtadhyayi. From where did he get these 14 sutras? It is believed that these sutras were revealed. Revealed would be the right word. Were revealed as the Vedas were revealed to the Rishis. Similarly, these 14 sutras also were revealed by Lord Shiva himself to Panini Maharishi. Therefore, it is also a revelation. Sutras also were a revelation. The beautiful arrangement of the letters in a particular way it is arranged. That form the basis of the Vyakarana work. There is a shloka. Dhrutavasane Natarajarajaha Nanada Dakham Navapanchavaram Uddhartu Kamaha Sanakadi Siddhan Etat Vimarshe Shiva Sutra Jalam. Iti Nandikeshwara says there is a shloka. Nataraja Rajaha. Nataraja. Nataraja is the Lord Nataraja. Who is the Raja? Nirtavasane, when he was dancing, Nanada Dakkam, Dakka the Damaru, Nanada, he sounded, he beated his drum, the Damaru. How many times? Nava Panchavaram, Varam meaning time. Nava Pancha, 9, 5, 9 plus 5, 14. So 14 times. 14 times he sounded his drum. Every time was sound, every time it was sounded, then every time he beat at the drum, he shake the drum, he shook the drum every time. A sound emanated from the drum, a sound came from the drum. That alone in the form of the sutras were received by Panini Maharishi. He sounded his drum 14 times. So every time he sounded, the sound which came from the Damaru in the form of the sutra were received by Panini Maharishi in the form of sutras. So Nataraja he sounded his drum 14 times for what? Uddartu Kamaha, for the upliftment of, for lifting up spiritual elevation of Sanakari Siddha, for his Siddha, the great sages like Sanakadi, etc. Etat Vimarshe Shiva Sutra Jalam. Shiva Sutra Jalam. Jala means web, the web of Shiva Sutra. That is Maheshwara Sutrani. So Maheshwara Sutrani came to existence from the sound made by the drum of the Lord Shiva. So Nataraja revealed these sounds, these sutras in the form of sounds to Panini Maharishi. Each time the drum was shaken by the Lord, a particular sound emanated from the drum. So when the first time it was shaken, when the drum was shaken, when the drum was beaten, a given the sound came. Second time, Riluk. Third time, a ong. Fourth time, I ouch. So like that, each time when the drum was sounded, a particular sound came, and that appeared. That appeared or that received that was received in the form of the sutra, or that came in the form of sutra and received by Panini Maharishi. Therefore, the 14 beats, because he sounded 14 times, therefore 14 sutras. The 14 beats from the drum resulted in 14 different sounds, and 14 different sounds, each of which was heard by Panini Maharishi, and he gave it in the form of 14 sutras. And these sutras are called Maheshwara Sutrani. Why? Because it came from Lord Shiva. Maheshwarat Agatani Sutrani, Maheshwara Sutrani, otherwise called Shiva Sutrani, Shiva Sutra Jalam. So the 14 different sounds of the 14 different beats, that alone in the form of 14 different sutras are there. That alone we have been chanting without knowing what it is. So we are doing now. Now, what is the usage of those sutras that we are going to see? These 14 sutras, they form the backbone of Vyakaranam, I said. So, in what way it is used by Panini Maharishi, that we are going to see now. So now, 14 sutras which we chanted. So the birth of the 14 sutras we know came from the Damaru of Lord Shiva. Therefore, it is called Maheshwara Sutrani. Maheshwarat Agatani Sutrani. Agatani sutras which came from Maheshwara, from Lord Shiva. That is why it's called Maheshwara Sutrani. These sutras, of course, to be memorized. I know. I hope that all of you know by heart these 14 sutras in the same order. Sutras should be memorized in the same order. The first sutra being Ayun, second sutra being Riluk. The sutras to be memorized or should be presented, should be chanted in the same way. It should not be flipped. It should not change the order of the sutra. As it is, as it was revealed, so we have to memorize also. So these sutras form the basis for the Vyakarana system, I said. How it forms the basis? The formation of forming Pratyahara. The form of forming Pratyahara. What is Pratyahara? We know that there are 13 vowels, 13 plus 2, 13 vowels are there. And how many Vyanjanani? How many consonants are there? Can tell how many consonants are there in the language?
33.
33.
33.
So 13 plus 33. So 13 plus 33, how many? 48. This 48 you will see in the Nivageshwara Sutra. So the entire letter, the Varnamala of the language, the entire letters, the Varnamala of the language are covered in the 14 sutras, and the order is different. The order which we learned, the Varnamala, first we learned the vowels and then the consonants. And then consonants also grouping the letters in terms of its Uchcharanasthan. We say Kavarga, Chavarga, Tavarga. There also Kavar Kakha, Alpaprana, Mahaprana, Alpaprana, Mahaprana. And also the first two letters of the each class. Kakha, for example, it is odd consonants. The later three, Ga, Gha, Nga, soft consonants. So like that arrangement, that is what we learned. Now, in the Mageshwara Sutra, there is a change in the order. Even among the vowels also, there is a change. A, I, O, O. In the Varnamala, we learned like that. But in the Mageshwara Sutra, it would be A, O, A, Ong, I, Ouch. There's a change. So, as it is there, so only we have to memorize. So only we have to chant and memorize. The letters within a sutra should not be flipped, and the sutras also should not be flipped, as it is. Even when we say akara, then ukara, ikara, and then ukara. Akara, ikara, and then ukara. As it is. We cannot say avuhi. We don't have any right to change the order. Within a sutra, the letters cannot be changed. And the number of the 14 sutras, the number also. First sutra should be at the first place. We cannot change the order of the sutras also. Now, these sutras, they form they help in the formation of something called pratyahara. You can note the word pratyahara. Pratyahara meaning grouping of letters. The simple translation of the word pratyahara is grouping of letters. Grouping of letters. How do we group or how can we group the letters? How many ways we can group the letters? We will see. There is a method. There is a rule. There is a niyama. There is a sutra also in the Ashtadhyayi which tells how to form a pratyahara, how to group letters. We will not see the sutra, but we will see the grouping of letters. You can see. Before we get into that, first we can note this important thing. In this 14 sutras, in each sutra, the last letter which is in red color, I marked in red color. If you see, they're all consonants. Even nakara is there at the end, it's a consonant. Riluk, kakara at the end, consonant. A ong, na is there, consonant. So every sutra has a consonant at the end. And starting from the 5th sutra, Hayavarat, up to the 4th sutra, vowel stops. After that, 5th sutra onwards, consonants start. Consonants Hayavarat, Lan, Nyamanganana Vidi are there. Ha is ha when you say, when you can pronounce. How can you pronounce without vowel? You pronounce ha. It means akara is there. The vowel akara is added to the consonant hakara, ushma varna. When you say ya, yakara cannot be pronounced. The pure consonant yakara cannot be pronounced. The vowel a is added, therefore yakara plus a, ya. Similarly, vakara plus a, va, repa plus a, ra, ra, then lakara plus a, la, and that is nasalized. Therefore, ngan we say. The Chandra Bindu is nasalization of the vowel. The vowel is pronounced with the nose. It's called nasalized vowel. Lakara plus a, lan. Then nya, ma, nga, na, nam. Nya, nyakara plus a. Similarly, with all the consonants, the vowel akara is added for the sake of pronunciation. Without vowel, can you pronounce the consonant? You cannot pronounce. Only vowels can be pronounced independently. Vowels do not require any support, but consonants require. Therefore, from the 5th sutra to the 14th sutra, only consonants are there, where the akara is added to each consonant for the sake of pronunciation. Understand what I'm saying?
Yes, Guruji.
Yes, Guruji.
And the last letter of each sutra is a consonant. It's a consonant only, pure consonant only. Now, these letters, the last letter is called technically it. It's called it letter. The last letter of each sutra is called it. In IU1, what is the it letter?
N.
What is the it letter?
N.
In.
That you
In.
cannot say again, that is wrong. After studying so many classes, still you are saying in. How can you say in? Can you pronounce the consonant? Priya. Can you say in? How
No.
can you say in? You are saying in means you are adding ikara to before the vowel. Can you say in? If it is pronounceable, then it is a vowel. Then what do you call that?
No.
Huh?
No.
Na is also wrong. If it na is there, akara is there. Anybody, what do you call that? How do you pronounce that letter? Last
Nakara.
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 letter. Nakara only. That is not in. It is not na. It is wrong.
Yes.
All these are basics. So you should remember the basics. It is nakara. Pure consonant cannot be pronounced. It is nakara. Whereas from the 5th sutra onwards, however, ya is there, that is also yakara only. For the sake of pronunciation, akara is added, but it is ya only. So up to 4th sutra, pure vowels, only vowels. From the 5th sutra onwards, pure consonants only, but vowel is added for the sake of pronunciation, excepting the last letter, which is called it letter. All the sutras have the last letter as the last letter consonant. Consonant as the last letter, and that is called it letter. Similarly, the second sutra, Riluk is there. What is the last letter? Don't say ik.
Kakara. Kakara.
Kakara. A Om. What is the last letter here? It letter.
Nakara.
Nakara.
Kakara. I ouch. What is the it letter here?
Chakara.
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 Ayavarad. What is the it letter?
Chakara.
Takara.
Lan. What is the it letter?
Nakara.
Nakara.
Nyamangananam. What is the it letter?
Makara.
Kara.
Understand? In the sutra, seventh sutra, nya ma is there. What is ma there actually? Actually, what is that ma?
Makara.
Makara.
It is pure consonant nakara only, but it has got akara also. Why?
For pronunciation.
For pronunciation. So nya ma, that it is not really ma, that akara is only for the sake of pronunciation. It is only makara. So here also makara, that is seventh sutra, second letter also makara, and the last letter also makara. So if I ask what is the ith letter, which one is ith letter among these two?
Last.
Last word.
Makara.
Last letter alone ith letter. Remember, the second letter makara is not ith. That is why specifically all the ith letters are marked in red color. Okay. The location of this ith letter should be known. If I ask you kakara as ith letter, in which sutra it is there? If I ask, you have to say it is second sutra Riluk. Nakara as ith letter, where it is, in which sutra it is?
First and sixth.
First and 1 and 6.
First and 4.
Nakara is
Six.
the only ith letter which appears twice. Nakara is the only ith letter which appears twice. The first as
Yes.
well as the sixth.
First.
Whereas other ith letters appear only once. Takara as ith letter, in which sutra?
5th sutra.
Fifth.
So this to be memorized. You have to know the position or the location of the ith letter. In which sutra it is located. That's why it is to be chant. It is be memorized completely. That's why we chant every class. Memorization of the sutra is very important. Now, having said that, now we are going to form the pratyahara. You see, Ayivun, the first sutra is Ayivun. The sutra begins with the vowel akara and ends with the consonant. You will find that all the sutras end with a pure consonant. A pure consonant is that which doesn't have any vowel. We know a pure consonant doesn't have any vowel, and the last consonant of each sutra is called by the technical name it. Please note, this is an important sanya name. Like vriddhi, I said a sanya. Similarly, it is a sanya. It's a name. Like you all have a name. Similarly, this also has got a name. Technical name it, meaning we call it in English. We can call it as indicatory letter or marking letter or packing letter, whatever you can call. It's an indicatory letter, marking letter. So therefore, in the first sutra, Ayivun, the nakara, which is a pure consonant at the end of the sutra, is an it letter. Similarly, Riluk, kakara of the second sutra is it. The last letter, which is a pure consonant, is it. Similarly, na of the third sutra, chakara of the fourth sutra, all these are it letters. The same way, all the sutras end with a it letter, which happen to be consonants. So every sutra has an it letter. No sutras without it letter. So it is very important. It's a marking letter, indicatory letter. This is defining what it is. Now, pratyahara, grouping of letters. We can form many groups consisting of the letters of the 14 sutras. How many letters are there in the 14 sutras? 13 vowels plus
33 consonants.
33 consonants. So 13 plus 33, 46. I said by mistake 48.
Hmm.
But it is not really 46. You can count. How many are there? How many are big? Don't count the letters. The letters are not counted. Not counting the letters. How many letters are there? Please count. It is not even 46. It is less than 46. Why? A is there. A not there. E is there. E not there. U is there. Ukara, Dirga Ukara not there. Similarly, Rikara not there. So, 4 long vowels not there. So, therefore, how many are there now?
43.
43.
43.
Yes.
46 I said minus 3, 43. But Ha appears 2 times. You see the 5th sutra, Hayavarat,
Yes.
and the 14th sutra. 14th sutra is,
Al.
so Hakara appears twice. Therefore, 44 letters are there. You can count 3 plus 2 plus 2, 7 plus 2, 9 plus 4, 13, 14, then 19, 21, 24, 29, then 29 plus 4, 33 plus 4, 37, 39, 39 plus 4, 39 plus 4, 43, 39 plus 4, 43, 43 are there. How many are there?
43. 43.
43.
43.
43 only.
So,
Yes.
and, the 4 letters are there. 43. 46, I said 46 minus 4, 42, 42 plus 1. Akara
Yes.
repeated twice. Therefore, 43 letters are. That's correct. Okay. Anyway. So 43 letters are there. Hakara repeated twice. The 4 long vowels are not there. A, E, U, and R. So 46 minus 4, 42. 42. Then Hakara repeated twice. Therefore, 43. Now, here, even though long vowels are not there, but it is understood. It is there. Because A and A, these have the same place of pronunciation. It is Akara, nothing but elongation of the pronunciation of the short Akara. Only the time is lengthened. That's all. Therefore, A is also there. Need not be written, but it is there. Similarly, E also, Dirga, long also, it is understood. Even though Rasva is there, Dirga also understood. Similarly, Ukara is there, Ukara also to be understood. Similarly, Rikara also. Likara doesn't have long, so don't worry about that. So, therefore, Akara, when we say Akara also included, Ikara, Ikara also included, Ukara, Ukara also included. Similarly, Rikara, Rikara also included. Fine. But as such, the number of letters are 43. But all the letters of the language are covered. All the letters, as I said, Akara stands for Dirga, Ikara for all the Dirga letters are also covered. Therefore, all the letters of the Varnamala are covered. Therefore, all the 46 letters are there. Even though you see only 44, but all the 46 are there. So, Mahagesha Sutra covers all the 46 letters. Now, we can form groups. We can form groups consisting of the letters of the 14 sutras in the ascending order, in top-down order. That is, from the first sutra down only you can form grouping of letters beginning from the first sutra down. You can begin from always from the top down. From the first sutra down, or from the second sutra down, or from the third sutra down, like that. So we can form groups only in the order of the sutras. We cannot change the order. The group thus formed are called pratyahara. Pratyahara is pullinga shabda. Therefore, Bhagavachanam is pratyahara, like Rama shabda. Now, what are the rules that must be followed in forming a pratyahara? A pratyahara meaning grouping of letters, can be formed with any letter of any sutras. Any letter of any sutras, a pratyahara can be formed. And the pratyahara must end with ith letter, any ith letter of any sutra, but in the ascending order. But it should end with ith letter. The pratyahara must end with ith letter. And also it should be in the ascending order. The order must be strictly followed. So these are the two important rules. Pratyahara can be formed with any letter of any sutra, but it must end with ith letter, and the order must be ascending order. That order must be followed. Now, I'll explain this with this sutra. See, now I am forming a pratyahara. Pratyahara can be formed beginning with any letter I said, any letter of any sutra. So, suppose if I form a pratyahara starting with the letter akara, and it must end with the ith letter. Let us say ith letter, the second sutra, kakara is. So, beginning with a, ending with the letter ith letter kakara. So, if I say ak, I form a pratyahara ak. I form a pratyahara ak. So, starting from a, ending with the ith letter kakara. The first sutra, first letter I am taking, and the second sutra, last ith letter kakara I am taking. So, these two letter combining, joining, I say ak, I form a pratyahara. Ak is a pratyahara. Now this ak pratyahara will include akara, ikara, ukara, akara drop it because it's ith letter. Ith letter should not be considered as the content of the pratyahara. So therefore don't consider nakara. Then rikara, then likara. So ak is equal to a, I, u, r, l. Understand?
Okay.
Yes or no? Unmute your
Yes, Guruji.
answer.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Guruji. Yes. Yes. Yes, Guruji.
So ak is a pratyahara formed with akara as the first letter and kakara as the ith letter, the last letter. Therefore, ak when we form a pratyahara which consists of the letters akara, ikara, ukara, rikara, likara. Drop the ith letters. Ith letters should not be considered as the content of the pratyahara. In forming a pratyahara, ith letters are important. But ith letter are not the content of the pratyahara. Similarly, another pratyahara let us form. Let us take the third sutra. A is the first letter. A Om. So A, the first letter, and taking the ith letter Chakara of the fourth sutra. So I form a pratyahara H. H will be consisting of the letters what?
A O I O.
Only four letters. A O I O. What is A O I O?
Conjunct vowels.
Very good. Conjunct vowels. You remember in the beginning, when we learned in the beginning, we studied conjunct sanyukta aksharani, swarani, mishra, otherwise called mishra swaraha, sanyukta swaraha, sanyukta aksharani or sanyukta swaraha or mishra swaraha we saw. Right? Then, if you let us form the another pratyahara, seventh sutra I'm just taking nya as a first letter ending with the ith letter makara, nyam. What are the content of the pratyahara nyam?
Ya, ma, nga, na.
What are those letters?
The fifth, the nasal, fifth
Yes. Nasal.
of the all classes. Yeah.
Anunasika letter of all the class consonants, right?
Hmm.
Nya, ma, nga, na, nam. Nya is the Anunasika letter of the second group, Chavarga. Ma is the Anunasika of Makara is the Anunasika of the fifth group, Pavarga. Nakara is the Anunasika letter of the first group, Kavarga. Nakara is the Anunasika letter of the third group, Tavarga. And Nakara, fourth group. All the Anunasika letters of the class consonants are covered in the Pratyahara Nyam. So, if I want to represent all the Anunasika letters of all the classes, I don't have to mention all the letters. I can just say Nyam, right? That is called Sutram Alpaksharatam. Understand?
Yes, Guruji.
Yes, Guruji.
If I want to represent, please listen carefully. If I want to represent all the Anunasika letters of all the class consonants, I don't have to say nya, ma, nga, na, na. Simply I can say nyam because it stands for all the letters, all the Anunasika letters of the all the class consonants. Anunasika letters of all the class consonants. Generally, if I want to if I want to represent conjunct vowels, I can say age. I don't have to say a, I, a, o, I, o. Similarly, if I want to cover, if I want to say simple vowels, what is a pratyahara? What's the problem? You should know what are simple vowels. What are simple vowels?
Constant.
Hmm?
Constant ucharana, constant pronunciation.
What are the simple vowels? How many are there in the language?
9.
Simple vowels are 9. Conjunct are 4. What are those simple vowels? You have to beginning.
A, I,
A,
U, U, R, L.
O,
Yes.
A, O, O, O.
Everything you tell, all the vowels. Then what are simple vowels then? Karuji. A, O, I, O, everything are telling. They are all vowels. What are simple vowels? I'm asking. My question is different. A, I, Anupama ji said correctly. A, I, U, U, R, L. Stop there. Don't include A, O, I, O. These are not simple vowels. They are conjunct vowels.
Okay, sir.
Please have the basics strong. Basics are important. How we classify the vowels in the beginning? We classify the vowels in two ways. One is in terms of ucharanam, and other one in terms of the matra. In terms of matra, they are called hrasva dirgha. In terms of ucharanam, they are called simple and conjunct. Hrasva dirgha, mishra swara, samana swara. You have to remember those terms. We classify the vowels. So simple vowels are 9 in number. So to represent all the simple vowels of the language, we can just simply say ak, because ak covers what? Ak, the pratyahara formed by having the first letter akara and the last letter ith letter akara covers a, I, u, r, l. But I said a stands for
A and dirgha.
dirgha also. E stands for dirgha
E
also.
and dirgha.
Similarly, ukara, ukara, rikara, rikara. So all the letters are covered. A, I, U, R, then L. How many letters? 9.
Okay.
That's why simple vowels are called ak. Ak is equal to simple vowels. So therefore, we don't have to say every time a, I. What are simple vowels? Now we have to change your the answer. You don't have to say a, I, U. What are simple vowels? If it is asked, you have to say ak. What are complex vowels? H. What are vowels? Ach is
Ach.
a vowel, that's all. How many, what are vowels? Suppose if I ask, don't say a, I, u, not required. You don't have to say all the 13 vowels. Just we can say ach. Starting from the first letter of the first sutra, ending with the chakara of the fourth sutra, ach pratyahara is formed. That covers all the vowels. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
That's it. This is how the pratyaharas are formed. Now you see. A pratyahara can be formed with any letter of any sutras, ending with any ita letter of any sutra in the ascending order. This is how pratyaharas must be formed. Please note that. Now, we are forming a pratyahara an. An is a pratyahara. It's a pratyahara formed. The name of the pratyahara is an. The name of the pratyahara formed is an. So that begins with the letter akara and formed with the letter nakara. Therefore, the contents of the pratyahara an is akara, ikara, ukara. As I told before, akara stands for long vowel also. Ikara stands for long vowel also. Similarly, ukara can bring in long vowel. For example, with the first sutra, we can form a group starting with the letter akara, ending with the letter nakara. Since the group starts with akara and ends with nakara, the pratyahara thus formed is called an. Therefore, the an pratyahara has the letters a, e, and u. The ith letter should not be considered as a part of pratyahara, as the content of the pratyahara. As a content, you should change it. Content of pratyahara. Content of an is a, e, and u. Then, similarly, we can form the pratyahara ik, ak, ik, any you can form. When you form the ik letter, ik pratyahara, what is excluded in the ik pratyahara?
A is excluded.
Akara is excluded.
Akara.
A is excluded.
Okay.
So ik is simple vowel minus a. Ik is nothing but ik covers all the simple vowels minus avarna, akara, akara. Because the pratyahara formed with the letter e, ending with akara. Right? Let us form another pratyahara ik. The pratyahara should start with the letter e and can end with any letter, any ith letter. Here, ith letter kakara is we are taking. The letter e is in the first sutra. Now, the group should start with the letter e and end with the ith letter of the next sutra, which is kakara. Therefore, the pratyahara ik includes all the letters from e up to the letter ith letter kakara, excluding the ith letter. So, e, the content of e would be e, u, r, l. E stands for e, u, r, l. L doesn't have long form. Similarly, we can form uk. Similarly, we can form rik. All these things are possible. Understand? Can you form the pratyahara here, rin, in this two sutra, rin, starting from the ending with the ith letter nakara? Can you form?
No.
You
It
cannot
has to be in
form.
ascending.
Ascending order.
It should
Ascending
be in
order.
ascending order, top down order only. You cannot go in the reverse order. That is not allowed. Okay, then in the sutras, this I told already, in the sutras only short vowels are present. Even though there is no mention of long vowels, the presence of short vowels bring its corresponding long forms. Please note that. So when we say an, a, e, u, a stands for akara also. Therefore, a. Similarly, e stands for e. U stands for u, as well as its long form ukara. Even though dirgha are not in the Mahageshwara Sutra, dirgha vowels, but they are understood. Similarly, ak. Ak is equal to all the simple vowels a, e, u, r, l, iti. In fact, a short vowel will bring its corresponding 18 forms. That we will see later. Don't worry about that. Now this much is enough. Since the difference is only in matra between the short and the long vowels, therefore the long vowels are also considered to be present. Therefore, the pratyaharas like an, up will have long forms also as a content. Understand? Clear?
Yes.
Yes, Guruji. Yes.
Yes.
Then all the consonants in the sutra, starting from the fifth sutra onwards, excluding its letters as a vowel a appended to it. I told that akara is there with the consonants. Why? For the sake of pronunciation. Now let us form a pratyahara at. Akara is the first letter of the first sutra. Where is takara as its letter? Which sutra it is?
Fifth sutra.
Hayavarat. Remember, fifth sutra. Fifth sutra as the ith letter takara. So we are forming a pratyahara having akara and takara as the ith letter. So at. Now the content of at is a, I, U, R, L, A, O, I, Au, Ha, Ya, Vara. This is how you write. But here you have to understand that Ha, Ya, Vara, they are pure consonants. The akara is added to that for the sake of pronunciation. Therefore, the real content is Sakara, Yakara, Vakara, Repa. Please note that. Okay. So at is equal to all the vowels are covered. A, I, U, R, L, A, I, O, O. Then Hakara, Yakara, Vakara, and Repa. These are the contents of the Pratyahara at. For example, Sutra Hayavarat is really speaking Hakara, Yakara, Vakara, Repa, and Takara. The Takara is eighth letter. So Ha, Ya, Vara is pure consonant. The vowel Akara is added for the sake of Ucharanam. The vowel A is not added to ith letter because it is not part of the Pratyahara. Why the ith letters are pure consonants? It is only helping in from the Pratyahara. It will not become a part of the content of the Pratyahara. Now, let us do some practicing of forming Pratyaharas. And simple Pratyahara, starting from A up to Nakara, the ith letter, the content would be A, I, U. Similarly, Ik Pratyahara, having the contents I, U, R, L, starting from the ith letter, ending with the ith letter, starting from the letter Ikara, ending with the ith letter Kakara, the Pratyahara formed having these contents. Similarly, Uk is equal to U, R, L. Ak is equal to A, I, U, R, L. And as I told, A, I, U, R will bring its long forms also. Therefore, Ak covers all the simple vowels. Samana Swaraha, Amishra Swaraha. And Yang, starting from Ye up to Nkara, third sutra covers the two letters conjunct vowels Ekara and Okara. And Yech covers all the conjunct vowels. Sanyukta Swaraha, Ye, O, I, O. And Ach Pratyahara covers all the vowels starting from A, Ayun, Ruluk, Evong, I, Ouch, Chakara at the end. So all the vowels are covered. And At Pratyahara covers all the vowels plus Ha, Ya, Vara. Akara, Yakara, Vakara, Repa. Here, Akara added for the sake of Ucharanam. And Yan covers Ya, Vara, La. All the semi vowels are covered in the Pratyahara Yan. Hayavarat is there. Hayavarat and then Lan. So Hayavarat, that starting from Yakara up to the Lan Nakara, then Yan Pratyahara is formed, which has the contents Yavara La. Understand?
Yes.
Yes,
Same,
Guruji.
we can form any number of Pratyaharas, but in the Ashtadhyayi, Panini Maharishi has used only 41 Pratyaharas. Though we can form more than that, but you don't need that. Therefore, you don't need to form. Only 41 Pratyaharas are used by Panini Maharishi. In the Vyakaranam, only 41 are required, therefore 41 he uses. Those are given here. This is your homework. Write the contents of this pratyahara. Note this. This is your homework. You have to form the pratyahara. You have to, pratyahara is given. You have to write the contents of the pratyahara. Understand the question? Write
Yes,
the
Yes,
Guruji.
Guruji.
content. I gave some examples. Now, many pratyaharas are seen, are given in this slide. So you can practice this. I sent to the group. So practice writing pratyahara and practice writing the contents of the pratyahara also. These are the pratyaharas used. Okay. Now, what are the advantages you ask? The advantage of pratyahara is by the short form, it represents a group of letters. Therefore, alpaksharatvam, the important feature of sutram is accomplished. That is the advantage. So, pratyaharas are highly useful in accomplishing alpaksharatvam, one of the important characteristic of sutra. Okay, with this, we'll stop now. Next class, I will say something more. Any doubts? Yes? No?
No, sir. No, no, sir.
Okay, we'll stop here. Om Purnamadah Purnamidham Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Sir, we have a Pravesha classes today, no?
Yes, I'll send.
So I am in a different group, means